Hello everyone, welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers and I have Joelle Jobson here on audio.
Hello.
And Power Hour is geared towards more business users, power users in SharePoint. And we just demo something random every week. We do a lot of Flow and Power Apps, and we do a lot of things that involve logic in SharePoint, Office 365. We've gone over tons of different topics over the years, though. So today we're going to talk about. We've already done a Power Hour about how to do conditional formatting in a modern list in SharePoint Online. And we've done lots of different Power Hours about flow and approvals, but today we're going to talk about how to create a button that shows basically in a column in a SharePoint list that will launch a flow on that item. So instead of, if you don't want to have a flow that just automatically runs when an item's created or modified, but you want people to have to click a button to run a flow on that item, this is just a nice shortcut, easy way to be able to have that button right there in their face, so it's very obvious to end users how to launch that flow. So I am going to write a blog post about this. I just haven't finished writing it up, but we'll go ahead and explain what all this is and how it works, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so here is a list of customers. We've done a few different conditional formatting things in here. There is a reference. I'll show you real quick. Anytime you go to a column heading here in SharePoint, you can go to format this column, and that's where you're pasting the code that we're going to be talking about today. And I'm not a developer, so I'm trying to translate this and how it works and explain it to you in a more business usery type of way. But they have a link right here to get to this reference that we're talking about today. So that link takes you to a Microsoft page here, and that page has a link that takes you to this more detailed reference that's got pages and pages and pages worth just everything you want to know about how to do what we're doing here. All right, so in this particular case, and I'll just go ahead and demo what it does, I've got a list of customers, and I've got a button. I've done it two different ways. I'm showing you how to do a button that will run a flow and how to do a hyperlink that will run a flow. So I've done this with a list of customers, and I've done it also. I have a list of company policies, which is it's actually a library, and I'll show you how I did it these different ways. But so basically, let me go ahead and just run one real quick. So I click this hyperlink, and I have my flow. I have it with an input parameter, so I don't want to just run the flow. I want to be able to type something as a message that's going to go to the person who has to approve this. So please take a look. Sometimes you could run a flow without any, initiation or input parameters, whatever you want to call them. You could just click a button and it would go. But this particular one, I have it, so it's asking a question. Okay, so my flow is running now, and I just sent it to myself for approval, just so I can show you what the email looks like. But we're not focusing as much on the workflow itself. We're going to focus more on these buttons, and then we'll talk about how the workflow works too. All right, so when I launch this, I get an email. Let's see. Actually, I'm not going to necessarily worry about the email. Basically, it launches the flow. So let's focus on, before we focus on what the flow is doing, we'll just talk about how I did this button that triggered the flow. Okay, so let's focus on the hyperlink first. So this hyperlink, I have, it's got an icon, it's got Joelle's name in it, and it's got the word approval. So I take Joelle's name out of a people field in here, and I put the word approval at the end. And then in this one, I have a policy owner, column, which is a people column, and I'm doing the same thing. So let me show you how that works. So let me go to my formatting. I'll just grab that code. And unfortunately, this is just, it's done in code. So that's what I'm going to be sort of explaining to you. And Microsoft provides a bunch of code, but what I'm doing right now is explaining to you kind of where, to tweak it and how I made it look the way it looks. So this is the first thing that we're going to come across is the icon name, and the icon name is this little picture right here. So the icon name is called Flow in this case, but there's a whole other list of icons, and Microsoft actually links to it from within that post that I was showing you. But I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. I'll grab that link. Dun, dun, dun. Copy that, and I'll go to the site, and I'll also copy it to the chat window here, so you can see. So that one was called Flow, but you can go pick any other icons here from this big long list of icons. Like, there are a lot of like really cute ones. Like this is called box checkmark solid. So if I go back to my list and I go icon name box check mark solid, solid. So now see, it changes the icon. So that's the part that you do the icon, is where it says icon name. And then we have the element type, that's a button. We have, if you know CSS, you're going to be a lot better at being able to kind of translate what it's doing here when it comes to the styles and what all these kind of references are. Microsoft has a big reference in there as well. So what I'm doing here, though, this is a concatenation. So I'm concatenating, so my operator is this plus. So plus is going to be what's going to tell me I'm concatenating. So I'm concatenating the name of this policy owner in the policy owner field. So it's important that you get, I'm going to go to my library settings. And it's important that you have the actual name of the field, like the system name, I guess is what you call it. So if you can see when I hover over policy owner, or click on it, it says field equals, way up here, policy _X0020 owner. That's what you need to have. You need to have that system name or whatever the column is so that it will work correctly. So then, because it's a people field, I have to do this dot title so that it will show that person's display name. But only a couple of different types of fields have like extraneous weirdness like that too. Microsoft documented that as well in that on that site. But I'm concatenating together this field value with the word approval. So I put a space here, space approval. So this one big thing right here is what's telling me to concatenate this with this. So that it ends up looking like this. And then this custom row action, that is the action that it's going to take when you click on it. So in Microsoft's reference, they've got a list of different like actions. So my action is execute flow. Let's see, let me find that real quick on the page. Okay, yeah, oh yeah, here they are. Okay. So on their page, I just basically did a search for execute flow, and I can see this is showing me how to do the button, and it says delete is one thing that you can make a button do. Just clicking the button will just delete. I'll open the delete. Are you sure you want to delete this item? So that's one way that you could put just a delete button right there in the row. Huge, right? If people don't know that you have to, you could click the delete button on your keyboard. Edit properties, that's a really common one that people like to be able to do, right? And I think it's so in the modern list, actually that little edit column that we used to always use in classic view, that kind of went away. So this is going to be a really good thing if you want to create a button to mimic that edit properties button, right? Will just take you to the properties of that item. And then, of course, execute flow will run a flow. And then you have to know the ID of the flow. So I have a flow that I've created already. And I'll go ahead and walk through creating one and how to get the ID of it. All right. And then how to just get the ID of just any flow that you might have at all. All right. So I can go to a list and library in here. And when I go to the flow drop down, I can see, of course, this one that I already created. Now, of course, users could, if they want to run a flow, they could click a row like this and select the row and go flow and run the flow that way. But the whole point of this power hour, the whole reason is that it's not very obvious, and end users are not going to necessarily know to do that or remember where to go to do that, to have to do 3 clicks to go find this to run it. So that's why we've created this button that does the same thing. So, all right, so I'll go ahead and show you. So I'll create a flow. Now, you have to have a flow that is going to be based on the selected item. That's going to be the trigger, because that's the whole, this is a manual flow. And again, workflows in Flow can't have multiple different types of triggers in Flow like they can in SharePoint Designer, where you can check all the little box when an item's created, modified, or manually. So this flow itself, is its only trigger is to be manually triggered. So you all let me know if you have questions as we go. That's the whole fun of having this little chat window. So in Slack, you all just kind of let me know what you think about this, and if this is a common requirement. I'm looking forward to hearing what your questions are and what you have to say about it. But I'm going to go ahead and be sure and pick one that says for a selected item. That's the important part. Now, now this is just my easy way of getting this started, because even if I don't want to do all the stuff that this workflow is doing with getting the manager and getting the profile and everything, this for a selected item and get item stuff is already in here for me. So it's just kind of like a shortcut. So I'm on my new flow, and I'll put a little 2 after this, and I think I've already got one with that name, and I'll save it. And I need to be able to get the unique ID of the flow, because that's what I need to put in that code for the button. So let me go ahead and just go out of here now that I've saved it. Excuse me. And now I'm looking at my flow. So anytime you're looking at your list of flows and you go open up a flow, you're going to be able to find the GUID up here in the URL. So if I go take that whole URL and go to Notepad, then this is what I need. So this little part of the URL where it's flows / some big long GUID / details, that's the part that I need to get to be able to put in my button. Jerry says, is there something you have to do to see the flow in the flow drop down? The flow drop down is going to be flows that can be manually run. If you have flows that are just triggered when things are created or modified, they're not going to show in that box because they can't be manually run. So only ones that you've created that have that for a selected item that can be manually run are going to show there. Yeah. So you need that GUID right there. So you take that GUID, and then that is where I've put it in my, go back to my settings here. So this one is my internal, let me just go back to the other list. I don't want to make this too confusing. There we go, sorry. I have 2 lists that I've done that I kind of did the exact same thing in. So here's where in this code and so Microsoft provides this on their reference page, but they don't say necessarily how to get the GUID. So this is the spot where I need to paste in that GUID that I obtained from my flow. And again, it has to be a manually triggered flow. All right, so that's where I put that, and that creates that nice little hyperlink. And so with this JSON, you have the option to put the names, from fields in your list, and you have the option to just put freeform text in there, and you have the option to make it, do one of those actions, delete, edit, or execute a flow. So that's the way I did the hyperlink. So now let's go look at the button, and we've done a couple of cool things with the button too. So I'll cancel this. And let's go to this other button first. So this gray one is very, very simple. So I'll just go click. So I click get approved, and of course it's going to work. Sometimes I feel like I have to refresh my screen for some reason. Maybe I changed something. I have to go refresh it for the button to work. Come on, button. To click it like 3 times. There it goes. It's kind of weird. All right, so that runs it. Let's see, this is a test. Wait, I'll just do a test to make sure it goes to me. This is a test. And of course it runs, and let's go see what this button looks like. This is really, really, really simple. This is all there is to it. I'll just copy that. That's it. So all I needed, so for this one, I just hard-coded some text in here. I just typed get approved. And I can just paste this in the chat window since it's so small. And I am going to write a blog post about it. I just typed the text get approved. It says the exact same text on all of them. And then I have that GUID again that for my flow, so it will know which flow to trigger. And that's it. So, but I wanted to add a little more to this. I wanted to make it so that the button is only going to show under a certain condition. And Chris worked on this today to kind of dig in and figure out the code for the visibility, hiding and showing the whole button. So we only want the button to show under a certain condition. Maybe. Does that sound like it's does that sound like a common business requirement? Maybe you only want it to get approved if it's pending approval. Because what I did was when I created this button in this library, I also turned on constant approval. So I'll just show you what that means real quick if you're new to SharePoint. Constant approval is in versioning settings, and it means that every item can be moderated. So that means that every time something gets added or edited in this library, that change has to be approved. So constant approval is just something you can turn on. So like, I'll go edit this file real quick. I'll just go edit something about it. Let's change the state. And so now I've made a change to it, and now it's pending. So anytime you add or change a document in this library, it's going to say pending. It's going to need to be approved before the content moderator would go in and approve the item, which would then set it to a status of approved. So what the deal with this flow is that I have the flow actually working in conjunction with the content approval. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let me send one that's going to go to myself for approval. So I'm going to go ahead and edit it first. Go over here. Change the date. And I'm the policy owner. And now it's pending my approval. So I'll go ahead and click get approved and go. This one, I have to refresh this one too, I think. There it goes. Okay. See how it says message to policy owner? That's custom. I've typed that to make it say that. All right, so now that one is run. So let's go check my email in here. So there's nothing. Let's go look at flow. Oh yeah, there it goes. There's my approval request, and it's going to have it's going to take forever to come up. Wow. There. Okay. Approval request and risk management was the name of the file that I was getting approved. And within the email, the person can go approve or reject it and make comments. So good stuff. I like it. So I would go read the document straight from here and then approve or reject it straight from the email. Or even in the Flow app on my phone, I could do that. So I did that directly from the email, and that's approved now. So where I did have, so this one was the one that I just ran through approval. Let me refresh this. And now it's approved. See, it says approved. Cool, right? So because I tied the workflow together with the content approval in SharePoint. Yay. Okay, but the problem with that workflow is I had the button showing on every single item in here. And when you run this workflow to do the content approval, the workflow actually errors out if the item's already approved and you try to run content approval and do something to the content approval, it doesn't work. The workflow errors out. So, and that makes sense because in the real world, if something's already approved, you don't need to approve it again. You only need to approve the ones that are pending approval because of, the actual content moderation in here. So that's the next thing I'm going to show you is how to customize this button and how to make it so that it only shows when the status is pending. Now this column, this button column, it's got nothing. It's just a text column and it has nothing in it. It has no value. It's just, the whole purpose of it is just to show a column here. So I'll go ahead and go to my settings here. And we'll grab this code and go to Notepad++ and take a look at it. All right, so I've got my the custom row action, just like I showed you on the other one, and that one's executing a flow, and it's got the GUID of the flow here, and the text is just straight text. It's not anything complicated or dynamic. It's just get approved. But here's where I styled the button a little bit. So within this little style bracket, it's got background color, and visibility. So the background color of the button is blue. The color is the text, see here. And the visibility is where we're doing the condition. So only if it's, basically only if it's not pending, if we want it to show. So visibility, here's how to do the condition. Okay, the operator is a question mark, and the operands is going to be equal. So basically, moderation status equals pending. So you put the operator before. So remember when we did the concatenation a minute ago where we were concatenating the person's name and the word approval, and we used a plus? Well, this time the operator is equal, so it's this double equals. So you do the operator first, and then you do the two things after it with a comma in between them. So the syntax is a little different than what we're used to. We're used to like moderation status equals pending, but it's equals and then moderation status pending. So I had to find out, can I post that? Yeah, sure, I'll post that there too. There you go, Amanda. And I'll put this in my blog too. I had to figure out what the name of this column was, because moderation status, that approval, content approval, is not just a regular column in my library. That's one of those built-in ones, so it's not like in the list of all the columns. So I'll show you real quick how I found out what the name of that column was. So I went to my approval status, and let me just close this. And just a little trick here, I just click to sort it. And when I'm sorting by any given column in here, I can see up in the URL, up in the address, it's telling me the system name of that field. So sort field equals moderation status. So it's actually underscore moderation status. So that's how I got the name of that. So just any column here, that's just the trick to be able to quickly go get the system name of it. Like policy date is policy X0020 date, like that. So that's how you can get any of those. But that's how I got the approval status is the moderation status. So with moderation status is pending. So if the moderation status equals pending, it's nothing. Otherwise, it's hidden. So if it's pending, nothing, otherwise it's hidden. So we only want to show the button if the moderation status is pending. So maybe we could show, you could do probably different conditional formatting if it's, maybe if it's rejected. You can have a different, have something different show if the item's rejected. But all I did here is basically pending or not. And I only want them to be able to send it through approval if the word here is pending. Because if it's rejected or approved, maybe I don't want to give them a button. I don't want them doing anything here. So I can, I'll go ahead and show you all the workflow and how I tied that together. Y'all want to see that with the content moderation? And then maybe we can dig into tweaking some of this, looking more into the conditional formatting. What do you think? The workflow itself first, or the more conditional formatting first? I've got a little delay, so I have to wait a few seconds to see what you all think. Joelle, what do you think?
I would say the conditional formatting stuff, the column stuff. That's just what I struggle with, though. So I'll let them decide.
Okay. Okay, let me see. We'll go look at how we did some of this other stuff. So like customer status, that was a more complex one. Because so in this case, you've got multiple conditions and multiple things that you want to happen. So if with that button we wanted to have something different, if it was rejected, then, of course the thing is this one's a button. Well, I guess we could color the button, but the thing is I don't want them to have a button to click if it's approved or rejected. So I don't know if that one's the best example. But yeah, so we can go look at the syntax for having multiple different conditions and different ways that you want something to look. Nobody's saying anything though, so all right, we'll go look at that. Because it's really the syntax that I struggle with, just because it's so different, because it's so, the way it's structured, like with the equals before, the thing that you want to be equal to something comes before the operands. The operator comes before the operands, so that's where it's a little tricky. Now this one's a really long one, but the idea is that, first of all, anytime you have this current field in this formatting, that's just going to be pointing to whatever column you're currently on. And then there's the syntax for looking at another column is, let's go look at that. This one is the little $sign. So the $sign is going to be what you're going to use if you're going to be looking at another column besides the one that you're currently in. And the at current field is just easy because it's just you're looking at the current field. So this one is the question mark is it's a condition, and the condition is the current field equals new. So the current field equals new, and they're basically saying they want to make sure the current field is a string, so they're putting the current field inside of this operator just to make sure that it forces it to look at it as a string. And then it's saying it equals new. So if it equals new, then what? So here's the if. See, it's so you have to almost use this Notepad++ to be able to see sort of the structure in here, to be able to see the different levels. See, because it lets you collapse them down. Isn't that cool? So here's this is the children of this, which is like my if statement. And then in here, I have all these other ones I can collapse down to be able to really understand the structure in here. So SP field severity is good if it's new, and these are that's a reference also that comes from Microsoft. It's just a built-in reference, so they have that in their documentation in here. So this thing that I'm showing you in the column that I'm in right now is right here in their documentation. So these levels of severity are built in, and see, they already have names. This is just a CSS class. So that's where that name that I'm typing in my code is referencing these. All right, so severity good is going to be if it's new. Let me double check in my list, make sure that I did that right. Where's my list? Yeah. See, it says new and it's green. I don't know why it's got a little X next to it though. We'll have to look at that and see why it's got an X versus a check mark, because those don't seem like they match what it's showing in Microsoft's documentation. See? Right there, severity. So that's the CSS class that it's using. All right, so let's go back to the code. And then again, this is the operator is going to be, this is like this question mark is like an if. So if current field equals, see, equals current field old. So if it equals old, then SP field severity low. So let's go change one so that it has the word old. Let me go do that in my list. We're testing this as we go. See, none of these actually say old, so I'll go ahead and quick edit. There. All right, so it says old and it's white. Okay, so that's severity. And then if, so again, the operator, this is kind of the pattern that we're going through here. The operator is if, and then if the current field is active, and then the next if is if the current field is blocked. And so it's basically saying if this, then this, and then the very last one is the else, and that's going to be SP field severity blocked. And that's if none of these are the case, then this is the else. So it's very weird, but that's the structure of it. Oh, Jean Shore says, I think it's called reverse Polish notation. Wow, that's the structure of the operator and then the operands. Interesting. Okay, so that's where that comes from and how it's structured. So it's a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of work really to get this to function. So a lot of these things, it's going to be really useful for you guys to go look at Microsoft's documentation and their specific examples and tweak it as much as you can when you're first starting out. And then once you understand code, so let's go back to this other one. When you understand CSS code, then a lot of these are going to make sense to you because when it comes to the formatting. So let's go back to the button here. So remember, this one is style. So the style is going to be blue and the color is white no matter what. But the visibility is the thing that we have this if statement around. So visibility, if, and then we have moderation status equals pending, nothing, otherwise it's hidden. So, and I don't know if visible versus hidden, I don't think it makes a difference if it doesn't make a difference if you have the word visible in here. It's just that the hidden that makes a difference, because if you have nothing for visibility, the default is that it's visible. And this is CSS. So if you understand styles in CSS, then you'll be able to figure out kind of the structure of how these work. So we could go probably tweak this and say, you know, if instead of changing whether it's hidden or not, change what the moderation status is and make the button be a different color. So let's go ahead, and I'll go ahead and try that. Fausto says when doing column formatting, you always need the else at the end, even if you have only one condition. Okay, good to know. Because in Power Apps, you don't have to have an else. And in Excel, you don't have to have an else, but that's good to know that you have to have an else in here. All right, so for background color, so we could take out, I'm going to take out the visibility. I'm just going to copy all this and put it on a new one. And language, JSON. And then we'll tweak the color here. So we'll say the background color is red if it's rejected and green if it's approved, and it's just going to show all the time. So say red. So I'm going to use the same syntax here that I did with the visibility. So I'm just basically going to copy this and make sure I get all the right brackets here. See, it even lights up in red to let me know that I'm selecting the right thing. So copy. And then paste that in here. Back. It equals moderation status equals rejected. Then it's red. Otherwise, it's I'm just going to say green. So I'll just do two things at first. And I'm not going to do the visibility. I'll take the visibility out. So visibility, see, it lights up in red everything that I need. To the square bracket. Make sure I'm selecting the right thing here. And it'll yell at me when I put this over in SharePoint if I don't have it structured correctly. I'm not sure how well I'm going to do doing this one on the fly, though, because that's usually a lot of, it's usually a lot of trial and error. Yeah. Color white. Oh, that was the text color. Text color is white. And then style, color white. Let's see. It's just easier to see in here. Yeah, no. And putting your commas in the right place is always like really important and annoying. Let's see. Color. Let's see if I'm going to take this color white thing out of here too. style, background color, if, see that one opens and closes. Wait, see, this one goes with the style one. This one doesn't go with anything. Okay. Okay, so I had an extra closing bracket, I think. Maybe that was all it was. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So now that's what I expected it to do, because these all say approved. I only said if it's, well, I said if it was approved, show it as green. Didn't I? Oh, no, I said if it's rejected, show it as red, otherwise show it as green. So that's correct. So I don't have any that are rejected. So let me go reject one real quick. I'm not going to go into the actual flow. I'll just do it right here in the list. Okay, yay, holy cow. I did something on the fly and it worked. So let's go get that color white thing back out of here. Because that was the text color. It looks better as white. So that goes with the operand style. I need to put it in here, I think. And then I have to copy and paste it again. That's kind of a pain, huh? No, I didn't put that in the right place. Oh, I didn't put a comma after the other one. Oh, that worked. Okay, so if it's rejected, it's red, otherwise it's green, etc. You get the picture. So that's how you can do your conditional formatting. That's how to create a button that will run a flow. And I'll show you now how to do the flow so that it has that, that input text in it, and so that it's tied to the approval status as well. So this one is going to be my policy approval, policy owner approval. Oh, wonder why that one failed. That's weird. It's probably the one that I was trying to, let me double check, because one of them worked correctly a minute ago, the one that I actually approved the item. Policy owner approval. Actually, let me just show you, because this one's built in, this request manager approval. We'll just show you what that one does real quick, and then we'll show you like doing your own. Okay, so for a selected item, that's the important part that you need to have in place to be able to click a button to run that item. And then, so that's going to be for whatever basically that you're clicking on in that list. And you've got the site and the list name. And so when you do these, when you auto create them like I did, where I just basically clicked create a flow and picked the template, it just puts the list name as a GUID in here, which that's fine. It's not hurting anything. And then your message here is, remember when I typed a message to, like in my initiation parameter, this is where you can make it say whatever you want it to say. So this is where you'd say send, message to approver, or you can actually have multiple different types of things that you can put in here. You can make it ask for an email address or a number, file, or yes or no. So there's several different things you can have as that little initiation form. And it was called an initiation form in SharePoint Designer, and it's called output here in Flow. So it's going to, for a selected item, it's going to go get that same item. And then they actually added this new limit columns by view thing that lets you, it helps in your performance. So it lets you pick just a particular view, so you're not pulling in all the columns of your entire list, which could take slightly longer. And then this one is getting my profile, getting my manager, and then starting an approval process. But it's got this cool little, so watch this, it's got this this run after. So this run after says if get manager has failed. So get manager is the action before it. So if get manager has failed, it's going to do this. It's going to send me this notification basically saying that I have no manager. And then the run after for this start and approval is if get manager is successful. Of course, by default, the run after is always going to be successful. But if you want to have a branch that's got, actually accounts for something going wrong in the workflow, that's how you can do those with that run after, and saying that if it's failed, do something. So it's starting an approval. That's the approval process, sending it to the manager. And if they approve it, then it's going to send them this message. Otherwise, it's going to send them this other message. So let's go in and I'm going to take this one and what you can do is you can just take this one that Microsoft gives you and you can just delete it. You have to start at the bottom, but you can just delete everything that they have in it and just put, change some things here and there for yourself instead of you don't have to start from scratch. So you can start from a template and just change it a little bit. I think I might have already done this content approval stuff in another Power Hour. I don't remember though. So I'm just going to show you what I did real quick. So for the content approval, I have to do this step beforehand. When I start to use the content approval, I'll just type content to find it. Content approval status, and where is it is in this site, okay, in my policies library. And that's the ID of that item that I'm on in the library. And then submit is what you have to do first. So submit, this is where it's going to go wrong if the item is already approved or rejected, because you can only do this submit if the approval is pending. And so I'm setting the content approval status. I can even rename this to say to submit. And then I want to go ahead and do my approval process. So I'll just type approval. And I'll just say anyone from the assigned list. And I can make my approval, I can make the title of this approval be, just have the name of the item in it. Approve blah, blah, blah. And just pick the name of that file. And then I want to assign it to, in this case, I have a SharePoint column called policy owner. And I want the policy owner to be the one to approve any changes to that policy. Details is just like your message that you're typing to the approver. In this case, I remember I have that initiation form, and that actually has the message that the person is typing when they start the workflow. So I'll probably want to put that as the details so the approver is going to see that message that the person typed when they started the workflow, right? Otherwise, there's no point in typing that message. And then the item link lets you link to the item. And the item link description, I usually just like to put the name of the file there. So it's going to go through this approval process. And then after it goes through the approval process, I'm going to go to SharePoint and update file properties. No, I'm not doing an update. I'm doing content approval status. Sorry. Content approval status is kind of a property, but it's a different action you have to use. Do you guys find this useful? Do you guys use content approval? Anyone? Is content approval something anyone had never heard of before? Is it new to any of you? It's been around a while, but it's one of those little hidden features that a lot of people don't necessarily know is there. So let's see, for my item, which item am I setting approval status? So here's where, instead of choosing approve or reject here, I just did the approval process. So I'm just going to say I want the action to be whatever, automatically just whatever their response was, approve or reject. So I don't have to do a branch and say if they approve it, set the content approval status to approved. If they reject it, set it to rejected, because the response is it's equal. It's the same thing. So just whatever they did, approve or reject, put that as the content approval status. And then I can put, if the approver themselves types any comments, I can put those there. And then E tag is weird. E tag is what you have to get from when you set the content approval status to submit. You have to use that E tag there. Of course, and then you'd want to have an email that goes to the person letting them know that their thing was approved or rejected. So email, we'll just say send an email to, and I'm going to say I could send it to the person who created the item. What's frustrating is that yesterday I tried doing this and I tried putting the email address, this thing, the person who triggered the flow, and the workflow errored out. So that doesn't seem right, but I'm going to just put created by in here. I'll put the name of the file. Then what? So I don't have to do two different emails for approved or rejected. If I want to, I can just say what the response was. It has been blank by, and then whoever the approver was, approver name, with comments, and then just put their comments like that. And that's it. Let's try that. Okay, request manager approval for selected item 2 is what I called it. And I think this is the list that I created it on. Hopefully I'm not pointing to the wrong list in there. Okay, now I'm just going to do this the old-fashioned way. Here it is, because the one I just created it's not the one I programmed into the button. And go. Continue. It makes you do that the first time you run it. It has that dialog where you have to click continue. Please, I hope you like it. And then, I sent that to Ali Bellu, who is a fake person. Let's send one to I'm going to go ahead and edit this one so it's not I need to edit it so that it's pending, because remember, this particular workflow with the content approval status tied to it, the thing has to be pending before it can be set to approved or rejected. So that one says pending now. I'll go ahead and run the workflow on it. So probably the one just now that I sent to Allie, I don't know if it was pending yet, so I don't know if it's going to error. It might error out. For me to approve, I sent it to myself. Okay. And we'll give that a couple of seconds. Maybe next week we'll do Power Hour on something in Power Apps. Yay, all good. And see, here's the message that I typed for me to approve. That's the message that I typed when I triggered the workflow in that initiation form. So I'll click submit. Okay, and then I go back to my policy list. Now, this is I'll refresh this, navigate away and go back. And then it's going to show as approved. Let me show you I can see the comments too. Approver comments. And approver comments is built in. I don't know why these aren't in any kind of order. It's a built-in column, but for some reason it doesn't show on that little hide columns there. See, approver comments. See, there it is. That's the comment that I just typed as the approver. Remember, I typed it in my email, and that was, I approved it, I typed a comment, and now it went straight into the approver comments, and now it shows as approved, and it shows my comment. Yay, golf clap. All right, any last questions? That was about it. That was how to do a button that looks like, that's a hyperlink, how to do a button that looks like a button, and how to conditionally format either of those. And it's especially how to get to the Microsoft reference that has all that stuff in it, and how to kind of see the structure of how to get around in there, use Notepad++, and be able to see the syntax and figure out what's what in there. And hopefully, if you know CSS, it's very helpful. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go get some puppies, and I will show you my new puppies, and I'll be right back. Puppy! Oh, let me go back to the main. There we go. We haven't named them yet. Aren't they cute? Say hello. Hey, Joel, do you see them? Are you muted?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm looking at YouTube, trying to pull it up.
What do y'all think we should name them? They're both girls. We're still live. I'm showing everybody my puppies. We just got them yesterday.
Yeah, we see them now. Aw. So you guys haven't named them yet?
Little mutts.
They're so cute.
Anyway.
Aw.
Okay, well, anyway, thanks everybody for coming. And I'm not sure what we're doing next week. Probably something with Power Apps, but I will see you all next time. Bye all. Bye, Joelle.
Bye.